As the speed of F1 cars kept increasing season by season, overtaking became a problem in Formula One. Then, the increasing sophistication of aerodynamics has made the problem even worse. The problem is caused due to the dirty air an F1 car leaves in its wake. A car moving through dirty air faces greater resistance, which translates into less speed. Formula One team designers and engineers strive for as much downforce in their car as possible, but without sacrificing speed. The dirty air left in the wake of the car makes it difficult for the following car to match the leading car's speed, let alone overtake it. Formula One noticed this, and made several changes in regulations. The changes in the regulations were meant to be implemented in 2021, however, given the COVID-19 pandemic, Formula One and the teams decided to defer the implementation by a year. For 2022, Formula One is more focused on decreasing the intensity of dirty air left in the wake of a car. It is hoped that this change will make it easier to follow cars and overtake them. With the implementation of several big changes, Formula One hopes to usher in a new era for the sport. They anticipate that Formula One races will be more competitive, unpredictable and exciting. The regulation changes will also affect the way a Formula One car looks, as well as its performance. This video will take a look at the changes in regulations and how these changes will affect racing in 2022. It will also look at what effect the changes will have on the way a Formula One car looks, and what it means for Grand Prix racing. So, let's start at the start, and look at the changes to the front wing. The front wing is an important part of any Formula One car. It is the first part of the car to come in contact with the air, and it determines the way the air will flow around the car. The front wing also plays an important role in the downforce generated in an F1 car. The front wing used in 2021 Formula One cars was a complicated structure with several slats. The new front wing stipulated by F1 is a much simpler yet more attractive structure with much higher end plates. This is because the gap between the elements and the nose has been removed under the new regulations. The elimination of the gap radically reduces the Y250 vortices generated by the inner tips of the previous elements. These vortices, directed towards the barge boards of the car, would keep the air away from the floor. This redirected air, although beneficial to the car, would generate very turbulent air in the car's wake. This would mean the following car would have difficulty in generating these vortices, effectively reducing the car's performance. The change to the front wing from 2022 means that one car can now easily follow another car during the race. How about the rear wing? Has it undergone any changes? Just like the front wing, the older rear wing also generated vortices. This has resulted in sharp changes in the rear wing for 2022. The curved end plates of the wing in the new design curve to seamlessly join the two elements, forming a continuous unit. The end plates in 2021 F1 cars used to meet the element at a sharp angle, splaying the dirty air wide. This change impacts the downforce generated by the rear wing, and it restricts the dirty air to a narrower path in the wake. The loss of downforce due to the changes in the rear wing is compensated for by the addition of a beam wing. The beam wing, working with the air coming from the floor of the car, generates the compensating downforce. The new rear wing pushes the air high and above the following car. The following car encounters substantially less dirty air and can follow the leading car easily. With redesigning the two wings of an F1 car, F1 hopes it will facilitate more overtaking opportunities to cars coming from behind. Now let's take a look underneath the car. The changes in the new wings of an F1 car will be obvious to an F1 fan viewing a car from the stands, but other impactful changes are not easily visible, except to discernible observers looking closely at the car. One of these not so obvious changes is mandated on the F1 car floor. The floor of an F1 car has a much greater role to play in generating downforce, as well as smoothing the airflow in the wake of the car. The new car floor has two tunnels that allow the air to pass and accelerate through it. This acceleration creates a low pressure which sucks the car down towards the track. This is where the floor compensates for the loss of downforce due to the changes in the wings. The performance of the new floor is better than the previous one as it disperses the air much better behind the car. The trailing car now encounters lesser dirty air than it did when the floor was flat in a 2021 F1 car. Staying underneath the car for a moment, let's talk barge boards. The barge boards in last season's cars were installed in front of the side pods. Their purpose was to push the air as far away as possible from the car. This resulted in a wider swath of turbulence in the wake of the car. Formula One's aim is to keep the turbulence to a narrow corridor in the wake of the car. These sideboards would allow the rear and the diffusers to do their job of improving the aerodynamic performance of the cars. Barge boards are no longer allowed for use in F1 cars. Formula One has thereby limited the air turbulence caused by the whole side of the car's body but has allowed the use of cooling louvers in some cars. The modification of the floor is expected to do most of the work in streamlining the flow of the air around the car. Another change that will be hard to see is the fuel being used in F1 cars in 2022. In November 2021, Formula One announced its plan to have a net zero carbon footprint by the year 2030. In line with its stated policy, Formula One has started implementing the policy in earnest. Previously, Formula One cars were using 5.75% biofuel mixed with gasoline in their cars. In 2022, Formula One regulation stipulates that F1 cars will switch to E10. E10 represents the amount of ethanol that will be mixed with gasoline that will be used in the cars. That means the gasoline will be mixed with 10% ethanol when used in F1 cars. The ethanol used in Formula One cars has to be produced in an environmentally sustainable way. However, using a larger percentage of ethanol in cars will impact the performance of the cars. This is the biggest change made by Formula One since 2014. Something that will be easy to spot is the new wheel size. The older 13-inch rim has been replaced with 18-inch wheels, which look much smarter on an F1 car. The introduction of wheel covers makes the car look even better. The purpose of the wheel covers is to clean up the airflow first, and reduce the aerodynamic disturbance created by the wheel. These covers are much simpler than the complex covers the teams used to mount on their wheels in the past. Formula One has also paid attention to the turbulence generated by the front wheels of an F1 car, as they have allowed the use of curved winglets over the wheels. With the winglets, the airflow in the wake of the wheels will be smoother and produce less dirty air. Finally, we have the chassis. Bigger and heavier wheels have increased the weight of the chassis for a start. Even as Formula One has concentrated on improving the quality of air left in a car's wake, it has not lost sight of the F1 car's safety. The front of an F1 car must absorb 48% more energy than it did a year earlier in a front impact test, and it has to absorb 15% more energy in a rear impact test. The bar on the requirements on the withstanding capacity in a static squeeze test has also been raised. All cars must meet all these requirements before a chassis is allowed to be used in an F1 car. The investigation into Romain Grosjean's accident in the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix influenced the length of the nose of the car, where a longer nose section will help dissipate some energy from an impact. The power unit is mounted so that it will detach from the car in case of a severe impact. While doing so, the fuel tank of the car will not be exposed, reducing the risk of fire in an incident, which is great news for everyone. Formula One is eager to even out the playing field and make Grand Prix races more exciting. Most of the changes in regulations are to reduce the amount of dirty air in the wake of the car. If successful, this will mean cars racing closer together, increasing the chances of passing. That will make Formula One races as exciting as ever with close finishes. At the same time, they have laid stress on F1 drivers' safety by tightening the requirements in impact and static chassis tests. The 2022 Formula One season will tell us just how exciting Formula One racing can be. If you like this video, please make sure you subscribe for more.